Wrestling is a cruel game of timing. We like to pretend it's a meritocracy, that if you work the hardest, talk the best, and get the loudest reaction, the goal is an eventuality. But the history of this business is littered with the bodies of almost megastars. Men who had lightning in a bottle but couldn't find the cork. And LA Knight, is currently standing on the edge of that cliff. And at the 2026 Elimination Chamber, it felt like the wind finally started blowing against him. Alright, we need to talk about the botch. See, usually when a wrestler slips on the ropes or mistimes a leap, the internet spends 10 minutes making a gif, the commentary team covers for it, and we move on. Wrestlers are human beings performing high-level gymnastics on a stage made of wood and steel. Accidents happen. But the slip at Chamber didn't feel like an accident. It felt like a metaphor. Because when LA Knight stumbled, the arena didn't groan with the of a scary fall. They let out a collective, exhausted It was the sound of a fan base realizing that the man they've been screaming for might finally be hitting his ceiling. It wasn't that he couldn't go. We've seen the wars he had against Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania and the masterclass against Logan Paul at SummerSlam. We know the core engine works. But for the first time, it felt like parts were starting to grind. At 43 years old, starts to sound a lot more like maybe. Every time LA Knight picks up a full head of steam, the booking pulls the emergency brake. And at some point, the audience stops trying to push the train. There is a specific cursed position in the WWE hierarchy. It's the spot where you are too popular to be ignored, but too useful as a gatekeeper to be crowned. It's the Dean Ambrose position. Think back to 2014 to 2016. Every time Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins needed a foil, they used Ambrose. The fans loved him, they roared for him, they bought their shirts. But when the big matches came, Dean was the one staring at the lights so the chosen ones could move forward. LA Knight is currently living in that shadow. He has lost Money in the Bank for 3 straight years in a row at this point? Think about the statistical improbability of being that hot for that long and never ever being given the briefcase. It's not a lack of opportunity. It's a deliberate choice by the office. They know they can put him in the ring with anyone, and he'll talk them into a sold-out gate. They know he doesn't need the belt to be over. But that's a dangerous game to play with a man's career. Because eventually, over turns into reliable, and reliable turns into background noise. See, when you tell the fans no enough times, they eventually stop asking. We are reaching the point where the chants feel more like a habit than a demand. The urgency is evaporating. And we don't like to talk about age in wrestling because of guys like R-Truth or Sting who seem to have the fountain of youth in a locker room gym. But LA Knight doesn't have the luxury of a 20-year WWE tenure to fall back on. He arrived late to the party. Every year he spends in that Ambrose position is a year he doesn't have left. While the new era is focused on building 21-year-old prodigies like Javon Evans, LA Knight is fighting a battle against a biological clock that doesn't care how good your promos are. If he was 30, we could talk about long-term storytelling. We could talk about the slow burn. But at 43, there is no slow burn. There's only the fire that you have left right now. And if WWE doesn't strike while the iron is hot, they are going to be left with a handful of cold ash. You can see it in his movement. He's still elite, but the margin for error is shrinking. That botch at the Elimination Chamber wasn't just a slip. It was a reminder that the window is closing, and it's closing real fast. And now, just like every WrestleMania season, the rumor mill is spinning and spinning around. The word is that LA Knight The word is that LA Knight is slated for a marquee match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. On paper, that sounds like a promotion. It sounds like the big rub. But let's look at the reality of how Brock Lesnar matches go for anyone who isn't named Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes. It's a squash match. It's 3 minutes of German suplexes and F5 and a paycheck for the beast. If LA Knight goes into WrestleMania 42 and gets dismantled in 5 minutes by a part-timer, it's over. There is no coming back from that level of gatekeeper status. He will be officially cemented as the man you beat to prove you're a big deal, rather than being the big deal himself. And see, WWE likes to use LA Knight as a heat shield. He can take a loss and keep his charisma because his mouth is his greatest asset. But his mouth can only do so much when his win-loss record looked like a mid-carder. A match with Brock Lesnar isn't a reward. It's a test to see how much more losing his character can survive before the fans finally give up on him. Wrestling history is full of guys who were too old or too late. Diamond Dallas Page didn't hit his stride until 40s. Batista was a late bloomer. It is possible to make it. But DDP and Batista had the machine behind them. They had the booking that protected their weaknesses and highlighted their strengths. LA Knight is fighting the machine. He's getting over despite the results, not because of them. And I want to believe he makes it. I want to see the megastar holding the gold at the end of a major PLE. I want to hear that "yeah" echo through a stadium as confetti falls. But as I watched him stumble at the Elimination Chamber, I didn't see a champion. I saw a man who's running out of breath in a race that was rigged against him from the start. The engine is sputtering. The steam is dying down, and if WrestleMania doesn't provide a miracle, we might have to face the brutal truth. LA Knight didn't run out of talent, he just ran out of time. This has been Heel Heat with Adeen, because sometimes the loudest crowd in the world can't save you from a ticking clock.
Yeah.